and my name is Trudy. I'm the founding teacher at InsightLA. Really, really happy to see all of you. And I think that Kathy is helping us this morning, moderating. Anybody else joining you, Kathy? You're muted, so.
Carolyn will be doing the Q&A part.
You're unmuted, but I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Can anybody else hear Kathy? Is it just me? You can all hear her.
I can hear her.
Oh, I see the problem. It's me. It is me.
Do you hear me now?
Great.
How the mind works. Kathy,
All right.
I hear you.
Okay, good. So Carolyn will be doing the Q&A part.
Okay. Okay, wonderful. Thank you both. So we've been looking at the elements of awakening over these weeks, and we've started, I think, with mindfulness, and then spent a couple weeks on equanimity. Then Eric taught on investigation, and Jack and I taught on effort for 3 weeks. And as I had gone over, just to recap very, very briefly for you, there are these arousing or energizing elements of awakening, like just that joy of being alive, and the interest that we bring, the curiosity and the eagerness to learn, and the interest, the aliveness that we bring, that we call investigation, really wanting to inquire and learn and see, what is this? What is it to be in this life? What is it to be life in the form of me or of you? And then there's the one that we call effort or energy or enthusiasm. And so these are the energizing, arousing elements. Then there are the calming, the releasing, the stabilizing elements. And those are calm, which I'm going to talk about today, or tranquility, concentration, and equanimity. And then mindfulness is the fulcrum that really helps to balance. We get to be aware and see where we're getting, pretty hyper and we need to calm down, or where we're getting so calmed down and sleepy and complacent that we need to enliven our practice. So that's what we're looking at. And so for those of you who may be new to InsightLA, we do a little less than a half hour of teaching. First we meditate for a half hour, then half hour, somewhere between half hour, 20 minutes of teaching, and then we have half hour for questions and responses, and that's really my favorite part of interacting with all of you. So wonderful. Let's find your comfortable sitting posture. I seem to have once again forgotten the bell. I'll get the bell while you get settled. Now I'll do some guided meditation as we sit, and also encourage you to really do your own practice, whatever it is that you are enjoying doing these days, and let's sit together. So just allowing your attention to drop gently down from the head, where it's usually residing, to let your attention drop gently down into the body. Just feeling this sense of physicality, of groundedness, feet on the floor, or cushion, wherever you're sitting. Body against the ground if you're lying down. And just feeling that sense of inhabiting your own body. And then feeling the breath in the body. The subtle movements of the breath and the perceptible movements of this physical body, the expansion of the rib cage as you breathe in, the lifting of the diaphragm and rising of the rising of the diaphragm, expanding of the belly, the releasing as you breathe out. Breathing out, releasing any tension and calming down. And by grounding in the body like this, we're just settling down beneath the waves of thinking, of emotion, waves of perception. Just gently settling into the quiet waters underneath the waves. This body, this breath, always with us as we go through the ups and downs of life. Here we can breathe in the aliveness of the body. And as we breathe out, more and more conscious of our kinship with all life. And as we sit together, bringing attention to any slightest moment of calm, maybe a very neutral moment where nothing much is happening. Maybe just that little pause in between the breaths. Discovering even just seconds of stillness and peace. Noticing each breath and the texture of that breath, whether it's choppy or smooth, deep or shallow. However it might be, just noticing with calm, unruffled mindfulness. Calm, unruffled attention. And dropping down beneath the waves of all the particulars of our daily lives, beneath all the pleasures and challenges of this life as it is today, into an appreciation of the simple fact of aliveness. Bringing that same calm, unruffled mindfulness to life itself. With some curiosity and interest. What is this life? Sitting and being quiet together, allowing the breath, the rhythm of the breath, to draw you deeper Just drawing deeper and deeper into this sense of calm and inner solitude. Alone together. And just sensing, where is the calm in this moment, in this particular moment of life, in all eternity. Is there any calm right here, right now? And when the mind wanders away into the past or the future, just gently moving the body back into this posture of receptivity and balance. Not leaning toward the next moment, anticipating what's next, but just leaning back, receiving this moment and this one. Receiving, relaxing, calm and relaxed. sitting with serene awareness, aware of all the dramas in the mind and heart, just seeing quietly, calmly, serenely present. So calm. Could you taste just a few seconds of calm? When we meditate together, I think one of the ways that we do support each other is to help each other calm down. Because this is not a calm time in our country. This is not a calm time in the world. The world has been changed by this pandemic. The whole global situation in every way is affected and changed by this pandemic. And then in addition, we in California have fires. And anyway, I'm not going to list all of the challenges of economic and racial injustice and pandemic, and but we know we have them, and people losing work and people hungry. And in the midst of this, is it okay to be calm? Is it even wise or called for to cultivate a sense of calm and serenity? And the answer, I believe, is an emphatic yes, 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 because being able to calm down, having the tools to have some serenity in the midst of all of this really does allow us to live more wisely and respond more wisely to just what the world is asking of us at this time. And, it's just, we can see that we really are living in a mind created world, and our minds tell us, well, I'll just tell you an example. I have so many examples, but one of them, I was on retreat. I was teaching retreat at Spirit Rock, and I had hiked up the ridge, and I had decided to walk along the fire road up there because it's beautiful, and it's a steep hike to get up, but then it's very straight along the ridge on the fire road, and it was beautiful. And I guess I underestimated, how far I had gone or how long it would take me to get back. And because I was teaching, I didn't want to be late, of course. So whoever, yeah, thank you for keeping an eye on the waiting room. And so I also saw over in the distance that a rainstorm was approaching. When you're up that high, you can see the walking rain coming down from the clouds. It's very beautiful. But then just as I was about to start the really steep walk down on the other side, the storm blew in, and it was very wild and exhilarating, and I loved it. And I was just like excited and very happy. And it was hail. And I thought, good, I won't even get that wet. It's hail. Hail is dry. And then the hail started coming down really hard, and it was stinging. And I thought, a little fear came in. Oh my gosh, like maybe I'm going to be the first woman in the history of Spirit Rock to be stoned to death by hail up here on the ridge. And then the mind chimed in with, I wonder how long it would take them to find me. And then, and it just, you see that progression that we create. And it's at times like that that I personally feel so much gratitude for the Buddhist teachings that, well, we call them the Buddhist teachings, the teachings of mindfulness or insight meditation. It doesn't matter, because it's all about awareness, and it's about being able to see how the mind creates this stuff and how it can be released. And that is, it just, I don't always, I'll speak for myself, I don't always want to be shown where I'm responsible for my own pain and suffering. Sometimes I would like to offload that burden onto somebody else. You made me feel, or you did this, or something like that, or onto the political situation. But I think for us to ask the question, this is part of the element of investigation, how are we holding our world in our awareness? How are we holding it in our hearts that either produces suffering or helps us calm down? And being able to calm down, it's just being able to calm down. Well, I think of it like serenity, in the 12-step program. And oftentimes, I think we don't want really serenity. We want bliss. We want highs. We want to be intoxicated and, exhilarated, and like the hailstorm. We want those states of mind pretty high states, and serenity or calm just feels boring. It feels like your parents telling you, calm down. Who wants that? But at the same time, calm is a doorway to concentration. Calm is being relaxed. It's an essential element to being able to meditate in a way that lets us feel that what we're doing is enough. It's a doorway to that sense of being enough and doing enough. And, I don't know if it's my Jewish guilt or what, but I feel as though a theme of my life has been, it's never enough. And maybe some of you can relate to that. It's just never enough. It may be good, but it could be better always. It's just never quite enough. And calm, that factor, that element of awakening of calm, is really a doorway to beginning to feel what my first Zen teacher called enough mind. Just that sense that reality as it is, right here, right now, is enough. It contains all the ingredients we need to wake up and be fully alive in this moment. And I have a quote, I forget his last name, I'm spacing it out right now. Scott, the one who spent a year at the space station in outer space. Scott, anyway, you know who it is. And this is a quote from his autobiography. And, spending a year out there in outer space, that's a form of meditation retreat in and of itself. Certainly they had to be so mindful to survive. The idea here seemed to be that a man or a woman should have the ability to go up in a hurtling piece of machinery, put her hide on the line, or put their hide on the line, and then have the moxie, the reflexes, the experience, the coolness to pull it back in the last yawning moment, and then to go up again the next day and the next day and every next day, even if the series should prove infinite. And ultimately, in its best expression, to do so in a cause that means something, to somebody, that means something to thousands, and to a people, and to a nation, and maybe to humanity. And for astronauts or soldiers or frontline workers in all sectors, these elements of awakening are really a training manual for being present in the midst of what arises as a gesture of respect to those we work with, to ourselves. And I used to call that awakening factor of calm, Zen cool. Just having that Zen cool that Scott was talking about, that ability to, the coolness, the ability to pull it back from whatever would be the disastrous thing that we would say or do or think or have happen. And so how do we calm down? Well, I think one of the ways that I do it is through meditation and through meditating with other people. It's really supportive to meditate together. That's why we're all here this morning, right? The silence is so helpful, even if there's the loudest noise in our heads, just sitting and being silent together. And, if we did nothing but if you do nothing but come to this sitting group week after week after week and just say nothing and be quiet, it will still help you change your life. It will. If you do that in a retreat and you don't even meditate, if you went in a silent retreat and you didn't sit and you didn't walk and if you just stayed quiet for 10 days, that would be life-changing. So this is a quote from Thomas Merton. He says, Thomas Merton was a Trappist monk. Many of you may have heard of him. He's very prolific, wrote a lot of books, and was a teacher to many of the contemplative Christians like Thomas Keating. To deliver oneself up, to hand oneself over, to trust oneself completely to the silence of a wide landscape. We have that with the ocean. To sit still while the sun comes up over the earth and fills its silences with light. To pray and work in the morning. To work and rest in the afternoon, and then to sit still again. And I would add again and again and again in meditation In the evening, when the night falls, when the silence fills itself with darkness and with stars. And he goes on to say, this is a true and special vocation. There are few who are willing to belong completely to such silence, to let it soak into their bones, to breathe nothing but silence, to feed on silence, and turn the very substance of their life into a living and vigilant silence. And if you substitute the word awareness for silence in that quote too, that's what we're all trying to do, to establish a sense of living and vigilant awareness in our hearts and not in our heads. Because in our heads is where it devolves into judgment and comparison and never enough and so forth. But in our hearts, the awareness can just calmly, serenely see. And it can be very neutral. And if we're after ecstasy, it might seem boring. But if we've been suffering, it's fantastic to feel serene, relaxed, and calm. And one way that we develop this capacity to steady the heart and to calm down, as I was saying, it's in the presence of each other. And this starts when we're babies, from babyhood, from infancy. And it's really, as infants, we need the holding presence of another. D.W. Winnicott, who was a great British pediatrician and psychoanalyst in the middle of the last century. Some of his writing I still love so much. And he said, he talked about how he wrote a paper called The Capacity to Be Alone. And how that capacity to be alone with oneself, which so many people have had to begin to develop, maybe for the first time during the isolation of this pandemic when you're single, how that capacity grows from being held in the presence of another comes from how parents hold the baby. And lest you think, I had horrible parents, but they still held you when you cried. They still walked you. They still fed you and burped you and changed your diaper. Usually the trouble comes later, although I know some people have been abused in infancy. It is fortunately more rare. And I remembered a time when, actually, wait, I'm not going to tell this story. I'm going to tell another story, but I also want to add this reassuring piece of information too about being held. Decades ago now, Ed Tronick at the Boston Psychoanalytic Institute did research that he demonstrated that he studied mother-infant pairs, parent-infant dyads, and studied the moments of connection and the moments of disconnection, the moments when the infant might vocalize and then the parent doesn't really hear it or looks away, the moments of disconnection, or the moments when they're both really, present with each other, and followed these pairs and discovered that really for healthy development to take place, the attunement, the connection really only had to happen about 30% of the time. I know for me as a parent, that was a huge relief to learn that it didn't have to be, that I had to be fully present, all the time. That wasn't really how it would work. And because that would be, again, that never enough standard, right? Holding oneself to that. And I think the tricky part is our identification with busyness as a sign of our self-worth. I know that when I first moved to LA, I didn't really have work. I came here for family reasons. And it was, so I would pick up the phone if somebody called because, just when I was here, I wasn't that busy. I was working elsewhere, teaching retreats and so forth. And I remember picking up the phone and someone saying to me, wow, nobody picks up the phone in LA. You must not be very busy. And I felt this kind of moment of dread, like, I have revealed that I'm worthless because I picked up the phone and because I'm not busy enough I'm not important enough anyway, you understand what I'm saying. And I think, but that identification with our work, with our busyness, as a sign of self-worth it's not helpful. And I saw it yesterday. I had the privilege, really, of visiting with a friend who has a very serious brain cancer and who has not been receiving visits at all for a long, long time. So it was really a privilege to get to be together. But she was talking about how weird and disorienting it is for her, who had a very big, busy professional life, to not have that anymore. And how she has had to fall back on a very different sense of who she is at this time. Like, who am I if I'm not being this that I was for so many years, involved with so many people who reinforced that identity? And that was my identity. That was who I was. And it was quite beautiful, because what she said is, I'm having to discover my true identity. Sometimes we call it true nature. Sometimes we call it Buddha nature. And oh, thank you, Clark. I just see that about, it's Scott Kelly. Okay. Sometimes we call it our true nature. Sometimes we call it our Buddha nature. Whatever we call it doesn't matter. The heart of silence, the heart of love. She is in that process of cultivating and strengthening. You could call it a new identity, but in a way, it's the truest identity, because it's aligned with reality, the reality that is beyond what we do or think about ourselves, but the reality that is calm and quiet and sees with awareness, and that awareness also knows that this kind of calm is a form of caring. It's not dry, it's not empty of love. It's a form of caring, of being able to bring a quiet, attentive presence to each other, to a difficult situation. I mean, I talked about something quite trivial, actually, which was being caught in a hailstorm. I have lots of more dramatic examples, but I also want to leave time for you. And so this question of identity and what we identify with and how we can calm down enough to see things as they are and to feel complete enough in the way that things are, just as they are at this time. How we support each other to be able to do that is also a kind of caring. And that's beautiful, because love and caring are at the heart of this practice. And we can't have true love, real love, and caring without awareness, without knowing who it is and what it is we are and what we're caring about. And I think, too, at this time in our world, it's such an important message to strengthen an element of awakening, to strengthen in our own hearts, because we're witnessing a lot of manifestations of uncaring, manifestations that our leadership and our government, especially, that are creating fear, not calm, the opposite of calm, creating fear in people. And so for us to look at the ways that we identify with who we are, the ways that we and of course, we're all identified with our work and who, the images that we have, but just to be able to be aware of it and to not rely entirely on it. I think that's the other piece that I saw from visiting with my friend. I'm looking for the quote that I want to end my talking part of the morning with. But that's what I really saw so vividly, visiting with her was, wow, okay, she is discovering what we all need to discover in this life, because it will free us from being as vulnerable to some of the ups and downs that we all inevitably encounter in this life. And when we're freed to be, you know, so identified from being so identified with what we call the 8 worldly winds, you know, fame and the opposite, ill repute, pain and pleasure, gain and loss, joy and sorrow. You know, I think one of the great benefits of this quality of awakening and of mindfulness itself as we go through hard times, which we are in this country and in the world, is that we start to identify more with our unique individual life as part of something way more vast. We are certainly, we've never been so connected globally in sharing an experience. And so globally, and also beyond the globe to the vastness of space, you know, with Scott Kelly, or beyond that to just step into the magic of this present moment when we can be calm and see ourselves as part of something infinitely great and much more mysterious than this mind can ever imagine. And this way we can help navigate the work when we still have it, our families, our loves, everything in between, with the measure of calm and grace that comes from feeling securely attached and connected to the immense current of life flowing through us and as us. So this is what I wanted to share with you this morning. And now it's time to have some conversation and dialogue together. And if you want to raise your hand, you do it in the participant function. There's a place where you can raise your hand, and then we can have some exchange. And you will be unmuted. Kellen will unmute you so that I can hear you, so that we can all hear you. And then we can have, some exchange together.
Also, if you're willing to, if your camera is able to be turned on when you ask a question, we would appreciate that as well.
Oh yeah, that's very helpful. Thank you, Carolyn.
Trudy, we also had a question of which Thomas Merton book that quote was from.
I don't know. I just have it. I just wrote down the quote in the talk, and I don't know which book it was from.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
I'll see if you can see it.
Yeah, sometimes you can find it, but I could right now. Oh, and I couldn't find the other quote, but I just did, which I'll read to you at the end. Or I'll read to you now. Does anybody have a hand up? Not yet? Okay, well, I ended the talk without this quote, but now I want to read it to you because this is from an 8th century Tibetan monk named Shantideva. And before, it's a quote that the Dalai Lama, it's a prayer that the Dalai Lama does every day in his practice. And I also thought of it because my friend Yvonne Rand, who's a wonderful Soto Zen priest and artist and activist and just was an amazing, amazing person. She passed away Wednesday evening. She had been doing her dying for about 10 days, and I wrote about it in the little blog in the newsletter. And it was amazing because much of what she said during the day of her dying was not audible, couldn't really be deciphered, but there were 2 clear things that she did say. And after chanting the Metta Sutta, the loving kindness verses to her, which a student did with her every single day for 5 months while she was ill on Zoom. After chanting those verses, Yvonne said, so this is where we all meet. And I thought, oh, I want to feel that when I'm dying. I don't know about you. I want to feel, oh, this love, this is where we all meet. And then later she said, no form, we just say thank you. what a thing to know at the end of your life, that there really is no permanent form. I mean, we know it already because we're in these bodies, and you know, we don't have our baby teeth anymore, and we don't anyway, I don't have that little arm I had when I was a little girl. So we know about this, but there's no form. And can we just feel that gratitude and say thank you? So here's the prayer that I wanted to read to you. In the meantime, maybe you can think of, it doesn't have to be a question. It can be an observation just from your meditation this morning, anything that you'd like to share. For those who wish to go across the water, may I be a boat, a raft, a bridge. May I be an island for those who yearn for landfall, and a lamp for those who need light. For those who need a resting place, a bed. For those who need help, may I be a servant. May I be the wishing jewel, a word of power, the supreme remedy for your sorrow. May I be the tree of miracles, and for every being, the abundant cow. And I think you have to think of what a cow offers in terms of milk. I think we could say the fertile garden, maybe, at least in honor of the planet. Like the great earth and the other elements, enduring as our sky itself endures, the boundless multitude of living beings, may I be the ground and vessel of their life. Thus, for every single thing that lives, in number like the boundless reaches of the sky, may I be sustenance and nourishment until they pass beyond the bonds of suffering. So that's a very, very, what would we say, comprehensive prayer. And I really see it coming from a calm heart, calm enough to see through their, you know, personal dramas, to want to be of service to others. Okay, it's your turn now.
All right, I think Laura has a question. So Laura, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and share.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
I just want, it's kind of a pretty basic question. In my meditation for the last few months, I feel very unfocused, and I know a lot of people are feeling this, understandably. But can you offer any guidance to some kind of reboot or something that I can do in my practice to...
What are you doing now?
You mean in terms of what my practice is?
Yeah.
It's just focused on the breath. The breath is the object, and relaxation.
What about if you did more loving kindness practice?
I have incorporated some of that, like a 10-minute stint at the end of my, regular. But you think that would be helpful to get some meditation?
Are you a little more, well, of course, you're doing it at the end, so you're probably a little more focused anyway, because you've been sitting already.
Mm-hmm.
But I would try that and see. And I also wouldn't hesitate to use some guided meditations, Laura. And then if you are able, to do an online retreat.
Uh-huh.
I mean, online, retreat practice really helps.
Yeah, I know it does.
And we can't go away on residential retreats like before, if you had the privilege to be able to do that in the first place, which not everybody can. But there are online retreats, and you don't have to be on Zoom all day long. I'm actually participating today in a white awareness anti-racism offering for the teachers at InsightLA, and I obviously taking time to be here with you because I wouldn't skip that, but unless I have to. But I just see that a long Zoom day is a long Zoom day. Mm-hmm. And so most of the retreats that my colleagues are teaching at this time, I'm taking a break from teaching retreats for a while, but they are interspersed. There might be a few hours on Zoom, but then there's a lot of time that's free time that you can do your own practice. You could do your own work meditation you know, cleaning out a closet or something, you know, making dinner, whatever you need to do in your home. It's because of the situation that we are in, it's a more relaxed kind of retreat. And a lot of people have said that doing the online retreats at home, they really help them integrate their meditation more into their everydayness, and, you know, to develop, just strengthen their mindfulness throughout the day.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And I'll try increasing the meta. That's probably going to be.
Just try to maybe just do that for a while and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
I think the important thing, Laura, is the spirit of experimentation and being a little playful with it, and as you look for what works, instead of like trying to, you know, that wise effort where it's a little more balanced with enjoyment and seeing, because that which is pleasurable we usually are happy to focus on.
Right. That's right. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. And then you can read the chat and see who has suggestions, like Jim's good suggestion. So can you unmute Izumi, please?
Yeah. So Izumi, I'm gonna unmute you and you can go ahead and share.
Hi.
Hi.
I just wanted to check in. It's been a while since I came to this group.
I'm happy to see you.
Thank you. Nice to see you too.
On that snowy day.
I've been attending, interestingly enough, with this situation, I have been attending sitting groups with different communities, which has been really wonderful to sit with different teachers and different affinity groups and things like that. And I just wanted to check in because I still consider this as my home, Sangha.
I'm glad.
And a month ago, my mother fell in her apartment, and she was carried away to a hospital. And the doctor is telling us that she can't go back home.
Oh no.
And
She's in Japan, right?
She's in Japan, and all these years I was thinking that I'm gonna be the one that's gonna have to be there when she either passes or has to move to go help with her belongings. And obviously I'm a US citizen, so I can't get there. And fortunately she's not in critical condition, so it's not like I have to, you know, she's not gonna, I don't think she's gonna pass anytime soon. So it's giving me some time to sort things out, to prepare myself to hopefully get them petitioning for a special visa to enter the country. And in the meanwhile, my kitty is also dying. And so, you know, I have been really faced with aging, sickness, and dying, and all the things that are dear to us will all be leaving us at some point. So, and speaking of awareness, a fellow teacher had given me a birthday present from Ajahn Sumedho, and his first page has a beautiful quote about awareness is my refuge. And so I've been really leaning on the awareness piece. And I don't know, in some ways I feel like I haven't been practicing because I'm not consistently attending one particular group, or, you know, and as you know, the CDL has disbanded, so I don't have like a continuing thread. But I think in time like this, when I'm really facing, I can see how this practice has helped me. And so I just wanted to share this one sort of a prayer that I have been using a lot. And I heard this many years ago on the Dharma talk by a teacher named Meg Gowler at IMC. It's really simple, and under the condition of what's happening in my personal life and collectively in the world, it really fits me. Some of you may have heard me share this. Things are as they've come to be. May I have an open heart. May whatever clouds my heart be dissolved. May I see the world with quiet eyes. With that, I will pass. Thank you so much for letting me check in with you.
I'm so glad to see you, and I'm really sorry about your not being able to get back to Mother yet.
Yeah.
I'm really praying that you will get there.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Izumi. And seeing with quiet eyes, that's a beautiful expression of calm, of serenity.
If anyone else has any more questions, you can go ahead and raise your hand.
Wow, what did I say? I silenced everybody. I guess talking about silence, you can speak from the silence if you'd like.
I think Sherry has a question. There you go.
Okay, hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, great. Hi, Trudy. I have been experiencing, when I'm going deeper, more waves and more waves and more terror underneath. That's like old terror. So it's tempting for me to like push back up rather than to keep going deeper.
Yes.
A lot of the things that are happening currently are just really reminiscent for me. And so I guess I'm just wondering if you have any guidance about that. Like,
are you feeling the terror right now?
Right now it's more surface on my chest, but the things about like the end of time, and I had a religious tradition growing up where when I was super little, I thought I was gonna have to be tortured to be true to my faith and all that kind of stuff, that over many years and therapy and decades and all that stuff, I was able to kind of cope with it at a certain level. And then when I started sitting and I did a writing workshop at InsightLA, the deeper, like the cellular level stuff.
Let's sit with it now. Let's actually sit with it now if you're willing. Yeah.
Okay.
Deep breath and feel what you're feeling, because I can feel it a little bit too with you. Yes, exactly. And then just, where is it in your body? Tell me, just put your hands or tell me where you feel this.
My chest and my gut.
Okay, so in your chest and in your gut, just tune in for a moment and see if you can describe the actual sensations of this feeling. You know, whether it's tightness or contraction or just the actual sensations, not your thoughts or ideas about it.
Nausea, hard to breathe, trapped.
Okay, so trapped is an idea. What does trapped feel like in the body? Might feel like suffocating, I can't breathe. It might feel like sort of a kind of restless.
Annihilating, like, it feels like something pulling me down.
Okay, so
Into,
so what happened if just for now you let yourself be pulled down? Just, we're with you. You're not alone. We're just going, it's like a little bit of a visit to discover where is down and what is down there. It sounds like maybe sadness is down there.
fear and sadness.
So if it's okay with you to just touch that place, we're not going to, leave you there or stay there for the rest of your life. Yeah, this is just sadness. And can you touch that place tenderly? Letting your hands just be soothing. Almost holding the place like the parent holding the baby crying. Just like you hold a baby through the upsets of being hungry or wet or tired. And what's it like when you bring a little love and hold that sadness? Like your face just softened and looked so tender.
It's warm and comforting.
And can you breathe into that sense of warmth and comfort? Just really just soaking it up with your whole being. And notice how your hand is starting to stroke your chest now. Like they're there. It's a whole different touch, isn't it?
Yeah.
So this is the touch, both literally and also, metaphorically. This is the touch that you bring when you start to feel that trapped, suffocating, frightened. Of course, a little child would feel, thinking they're going to have to, I don't know, go to purgatory and be tortured or whatever you're told. But when you feel that sense of being pulled down, it's so scary because you think you're being pulled down into hell. But actually, if you can feel that sense of being just pulled down into an emotion that has been covered up by the fears, you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's what happened today. It's much better for you to sob and feel this sadness of a little girl who's so scared.
Yeah.
Because now you're adult, you can do just what you did today, which is hold yourself and comfort yourself and know that you're not alone. And you'll read the chat and see that people are sending you love, Sherry. And, you're not the only person.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your willingness and your courage to go there, because that's what this practice, I think of it as, we call it sometimes the suffering that leads to the end of suffering.
Yes.
So yeah, it's not into your suffering, but it's in the service of you.
Yes, and I think sometimes I expect myself to get to a point in life where I did get to the bottom and there's like it's not going to happen anymore, but that isn't true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but thank you very, very much for your support and guidance with that.
Sure. And I want to say that even though that isn't true, that, suffering will never rear its head again in your life, I think we've all had that magical wish that it would. Certainly did. But at the same time, it does really change.
Yes.
So, things can still come our way that are full of suffering, but at the same time, we have developed a kind of strength and resilience and calm. These elements of awakening have been cultivated in us so that it isn't really suffering in the same way anymore.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
Be sure to read the chat.
So I want to save time. I know last time we ran over a little, so I can do announcements.
Okay.
And so the first announcement we have a couple great classes coming up. And the first one I talked about a little bit last week with Dan Siegel and Trudy, Mindfulness, Mui, and Our Interconnected Reality is this Tuesday. And I'm going to put the link there. And then the second class I'm also going to put the link for is Mindful Self-Care for Teachers. And I looked that one up because I wanted to know what it was about. And it's free for teachers. Amy and Kate, who are teachers, are leading it. And it sounds really amazing. It's one Saturday a month. So I'll put the link for that as well. And then just a reminder for Donna, we're not in the space. So I know even for myself, it's hard to remember to go on and do that. But it's very easy. I went on. You can even dedicate it to someone. So just a reminder to give Donna from your heart. And that's all. I'll put a link to that as well. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Kathy, and thank you for reminding me that we went over last week. So why don't we just sit together this week, and maybe we'll even have a few extra minutes. That would be unusual. So just find your comfortable sitting posture, and we sit together for just for a few minutes. So at the end of a period of study and practice together, we offer the goodness of our practice to all beings everywhere, without exception. And just imagine whatever that's been beneficial that you've learned, just imagine radiating it from you, your heart, out to the world that needs our love. May we bring some calm and serenity, not to be passive in the face of the world that needs our love, but to help us be able to respond wisely and to stay with it, to stay with what needs our love, so that we can really see how to help. And this means ourselves as well, to stay with ourselves and see which parts of ourselves need some love, so that we can be as effective and present as we wish to be with each other, with ourselves, and with our world. So thank you, everybody. You can unmute us, Kathy, so we can also say
We're
hi.
all unmuted.
All right, I'll see you next week, and thank you for your
All right.
Thank
Thank you. Judy. Thank you. Thank you.
everyone so much.
Thank you.
Love, love.
Bye.
Always.
Thank you.
Everyone. Hi, Dee Dee.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very uplifting.
Kenny.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful week.
Thank you, Kenny.
Thank everybody.
Thank
Good
you.
job.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kenny.
Thanks, Sherry, for sharing your heart. That was beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for hearing me.
Yeah, it brought tears to my eyes.
Thanks for being with me.
Yeah. Any lots of love, Sherry.
Thank you so much.
Hang in there, Sherry.
Yeah.